In this module, we'll focus on the Structure Intelligent Guided Test feature of AX DevTools extension and its key features for the NYU instance.
To begin a structure test, go to the Guided Tests tab and select the plus sign next to Structure to start the run.
Step 1 asks you if there are any headings on the page. This is an entirely visual exercise looking for brief blocks of text that label a section. This is often bigger, bolder, or otherwise styled text.
Most web pages have at least one heading. However, in the unusual instance where there are no visible headings, select No, there should not be any headings. Otherwise, select Yes to this question.
The IGT will now highlight the content that is marked up as a heading in the code. Using the mouse selection, identify the content that should be highlighted as a heading. The next part asks, does each heading accurately describe the content that immediately follows it? Simply put, does the heading explain what the content directly after it is about?
If you find a heading that doesn't clearly explain the content after it, then select No for that heading.
Step 2 covers lists. The first part will highlight what is currently encoded as a list and ask which, if any, should not be a list.
First, we need to clarify what we mean by list. A list isn't just about bullet points or numbers, it's about grouping related items. Ask yourself, 1. Are the items related? For example, contact methods, email, phone, or address. 2. Are similar things together? For example, steps, options, features, or navigation items. Note that something doesn't have to look like a traditional list to be counted as a list.
Back to the IGT question, what shouldn't be a list? For the most part, it becomes more obvious with practice, but let's point out 2 in this example. Note that additional examples were added to the page to clarify examples. The first example for this video is that forms are a notable exception. Form fields do not need to be encoded as a list. The second example on the page may be a little harder to detect. However, you may notice the entire page is within a highlight.
That means we will answer yes to the question and then select these false lists from the options provided within the IGT.
The final question about lists asks you to spot any content that should be a list but isn't marked as one. Remember, except for forms, related items, even when displayed horizontally, should be in a list. This includes navigation menus and group content. If you find a missing list, use mouse selection to highlight the element that wraps all the list items. If you cannot find the wrapping element for a group, you can attempt to find it using the element selector.
If you still can't identify the wrapper for the group, then you can identify the list items individually.
Step 3 will check the page for its primary language. If none is declared, then it may suggest a language. Note that the question may vary by page, so carefully read this question to select the option that best applies to the page. In this example, the primary language is English, so the first option is appropriate.
The second part of Step 3 asks if any part of the page differs from the primary language of the page. On this page, the content in Spanish means we should select Yes. Then use the mouse selection to select all content that is not the primary language.
Step 4 checks the title of the page. The title is the text that appears in the Browser tab. The full title is listed in this question. Page titles should be clear, concise, and match the main heading, starting with specific details, reflecting the page's purpose or results, and distinguishing it from other pages.
Step 5 ensures that videos, media, and frames are first preceded by a heading or text that describes it. In this example, the heading AU Video does introduce the video, but it does not explain the contents well. For example, Introduction to Accessibility University would have been sufficient on the example page.
That's the Structure IGT. Check the sections of the AX DevTools guide for more information about other features, including the other intelligent guided tests and reporting.